viewers, on this channel I interview doctors who have successfully passed or failed any medical board exams to share their exams preparation experience with us and with all those preparing to write theirs. If you are watching me and you have experience in any medical board exams and would like to share with us, kindly contact me on my Facebook page, Instagram, or leave a comment at the comment section of this video and I'll keep in touch. Please do not forget to subscribe to this channel and recommend this channel to any medical student or medical doctor who is preparing to write the board exams of any country. Thank you. Hello viewers, welcome back to the medical board exam experience with Dr. Kwafu. Today we have Dr. Appiah Kubi, former News China National President and an international medical graduate of Shenyang Medical University in China. In our previous interview with him, he shared with us how he studied and prepared for the Ghana Medical and Dental Council board exams. Today he has joined us to share with us how he obtained admission to do his PhD in Obstetrics and Gynecology in Hong Kong University, his experience so far as a PhD candidate in Hong Kong, and also his research areas. Let us join Dr. Appiah Kubi in our discussion room. Thank you. So, Doctor, my first question is, why did you have your medical education?
Well, my medical education was done in China, a city in the northeastern part of China called Shenyang. It's in the province called Liaoning province.
Okay.
In northeastern part of China, about 4 or 5 hours by train from Beijing.
Oh, okay. So after a medical education, you went straight to Hong Kong to continue education, or what got you to Hong Kong from China?
Well, after graduation in China, I went back home.
Okay.
I went back to Ghana because I wanted to be a doctor. That's what I traveled to China to do. So when we graduated after our internship in China in graduation, we went back home to Ghana. When we went back home, we went to the Medical and Dental Council. We presented our documents and everything that they asked for. Your transcripts, your documents, and your certificates and everything. Then they verified our documents from our school. So when the documents were verified, we were cleared to register for the board exam in Ghana, what we call the Medical and Dental Council registration exams.
Okay.
So that is it.
Okay, so you passed the board exams in Ghana, and did you practice in Ghana for a while before leaving to Hong Kong?
Yes, I did. The exam in Ghana is written in 2 phases, or let me say twice a year, not 2 phases, but twice a year. So okay. It is written in February and it is written in, I think, is it July, something like that, but it's twice a year. Okay. So when we presented our documents to the council, they verified everything, and then they ask you if you want to go and do an internship. They call it pre-registration internship.
Okay.
So I was sent to Tamale Teaching Hospital.
Okay.
So I was in Tamale Teaching Hospitals for over 6 months. Rotating through surgery, O&G, medicine, and pediatrics to prepare for the examination. So in Tamale, we were quite a number. Some of us from Russia, from Ukraine, from China, we met in Tamale. So we studied together, we solved questions, whatever we could do to pass the exam, we did. Then we sat the exam, and God willing, we were able to pass at the first sitting.
Okay.
When we passed the exam, the council will now ask you to do what we call housemanship.
Okay.
Yes. So the housemanship is 2 years. Each rotation is about 6 months. So O&G, pediatrics, surgery, medicine, 6 months each, making 2 years. So okay. My housemanship, I did my house job at Volta Regional Hospital. Currently, it is a whole teaching hospital.
Okay.
That is why I practiced. That's why I did my house job. So after house job, we came to Hong Kong. But before then, before then, when I was preparing to write the exam, writing board exam is not that simple.
Yeah.
I mean, it is two sides of a coin. Either you get a head or tail. In other words, either you fail or you pass.
You pass, yes.
So when we were preparing for the exam, I sat down and I thought about the fact that, look, we have an exam that is very uncertain. Though we're preparing all we can to pass the exam, I thought it wise that let me also do something else. Let me find another route in case I write the exam and I don't pass.
Okay.
Then what would be the next thing to do? Because honestly, I wasn't prepared to write the exam the first, the second, the third, and I know people wrote about 3-4 times.
Okay.
So that at the same time when I was preparing for the exam, a friend of mine who was already in a PhD program in Hong Kong told me that, there is a clinical research program in Hong Kong, which is quite good for doctors like me. So I said, well, why don't I also try that? So let me do two things at the same time. Let me prepare for the exam, and let me see if I can get a PhD program to do, because I love to teach. You understand? I'm a talkative. I love to teach. So if I write the exam and I don't pass, and hopefully I get the PhD done, then if I don't pass, I'll leave. So at the time I was preparing for the exam, I was also looking at the process and the procedures to do to get the PhD program here in Hong Kong. So there's the Hong Kong government has this research grant council. It's called a research grant council, RGC. They have this yearly scholarship that they give to people around the world. I mean, anybody can apply. I mean, if you apply, they have their qualifying staffs. If you meet all those qualifying staffs, then you'll get a place in, I think, 5 universities in Hong Kong. University of Hong Kong, the Chinese University of Hong Kong, City University of Hong Kong, Lengnan University, and Baptist University in Hong Kong. So these 5 universities are on that program. So whilst we were writing the exam, I was also processing this particular research scholarship grant. So I did the two at the same time, and God willing, I passed the exam and I got the admission to do a PhD. So what I did was that I couldn't come straight away, because once I passed the exam, I needed to get my license also in Ghana. And if you pass the exam and you don't do your housemanship, you don't get your license. It means that after 3 months, you have to write the exam again. So I deferred my PhD, and then I finished my house job. Then I came to continue the PhD. So that's how it happened.
So which school are you now?
I'm in the Chinese University of Hong Kong, CUHK.
Oh, okay. And you're on scholarship?
Yes, it's a Hong Kong government scholarship.
Provided is everyone in that school on scholarship?
Well, Hong Kong, the fees is quite expensive. So almost, I would say about 98% of foreigners studying in Hong Kong are on Hong Kong government scholarship.
Hong Kong, okay.
So very few people are fee paying. Very, very few people are fee paying.
But usually, I think if one finishes MBBS, the next thing to do is to do your postgraduate before you get to PhD level. So how were you able to directly get admission to do your PhD?
Yeah, so it is, a lot of people don't know, but across the world, you can use a BSc to do a PhD if your BSc is very good. You get it. So the requirements here in Hong Kong is that if you are coming with MBBS or MBCHB, or you are coming with a BSc, your BSc or your MBS or your MBCHB should be very, very good. You get it. And if it is that good and you qualify, you do the PhD for 4 years.
Okay.
If you have a master's degree, you do the PhD for 3 years. So I would say that my MBBS was good enough to qualify me for the PhD.
Okay, good as in your transcripts, right?
Yes, of course. I mean, it should be first class. If you are looking at it from BSc, then for
BSc,
be able to
okay.
get into a PhD in Hong Kong or even anywhere, your BSc should be first class. But you know that in medicine, we don't have this first and second and third class. You know that. But your transcript should be very good. At least should be 80% or 75% above. You get it?
Above, okay.
So I believe that my transcript was good enough to qualify me for a PhD, and then thank God willing, I got through.
Okay, so aside transcript, do you also need some recommendation letters from maybe your school or from particular people?
Oh yes, even with your transcript, you need a school to confirm the transcript. So your former university will have to write to the university here in Hong Kong to confirm your transcript. Also, you know, when I was in China, I was the president of the National Union of Ghana Students. So I had some very good recommendation letters from the embassy and other places. So I believe that all these things played a role. Now, one very important criteria too is that they prefer students that have been in leadership positions or have had that kind of service, you know, and are willing to do more. So it's like they have that criteria where if you have had any form of leadership position or you have had any form of anything that has to do with serving a group of people or something like that, then it's an advantage for you.
For you, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So were you the only Ghanaian who got admission that year?
No, I wasn't. But I was the only Ghanaian. I was the only Ghanaian doctor who got admission to do a PhD. But there were other Ghanaian students in the humanities. I mean, the architecture, tourism. I mean, those kind of courses. There were the other Ghanaians too, and other biomedical scientists also came along.
Okay. So with the health side, do they do PhD in other programs or only Obs and Gynae?
Oh no, there are PhD in every program that you want to do. There's PhD in Obstetrics and Gynecology, there's PhD in surgery, there's PhD in pediatrics, there's PhD. I mean, it cuts across the field because you see, in Hong Kong, research is very competitive. So yeah. So you can do a PhD across the medical divide.
Okay. So your program, is it in English medium or is in Chinese, Mandarin, or?
Okay, so in Hong Kong, everything is in English. You know, Hong Kong it used to be a British territory. It is recently that it is changing. So actually, I am aware that you are not supposed to teach students in Hong Kong in either Mandarin or Cantonese, unless you are learning the Chinese language. So teaching in Hong Kong from undergrad or even from the secondary school to PhD is in English. No Chinese, no Cantonese, no Mandarin.
Okay, so your teachers, how is their English? Do they speak English fluently?
Hong Kong people speak very good English. You know, Hong Kong, they teach them English right down from primary school. English is the first language in Hong Kong.
Oh, okay.
It's the first language in terms of tuition and everything. Though they speak their languages, they speak Cantonese at workplaces.
Okay.
But English is more or less a first language. It competes with the Cantonese. So in school, they teach in English. They don't teach in Cantonese unless they are having a Cantonese class. You get it, or Mandarin class. So here we don't have any problem with the English. All lecturers teach in English. All PPTs, all exam materials, all teaching materials are in English. None in Chinese. At least in the university.
So your program is 4 years. So how many years have you spent so far?
Oh, my program is 4 years. Yes. I'm in my 3rd year now, but I will, God willing, by this December, I will finish. in about 3.5 years. Actually, I was supposed to finish this past July, but because of COVID-19 and other few problems, my data, I couldn't get all my data in place because of the restrictions that came along. So I had to postpone my submission date by 6 months. So hopefully, God willing, by this December, I will submit my thesis and defend it in December.
Oh, okay. So far you are still in Hong Kong and in US University. What are some of the challenges you have encountered so far?
For Hong Kong, our challenges here are not that much because, I mean, in China we have challenges in language.
Okay.
But in Hong Kong, I mean, it's English, and the average Hong Kong person can speak, I mean, quite good English that you can understand. So it's not a huge problem as far as language is concerned. Another problem that I have had is it is not well pronounced, but it's there. It has to do with a little bit of racism.
Okay.
Some of us, what we are doing is we are not doing laboratory PhD. We are doing clinical research.
Okay.
So you have to go to the clinic, you have to recruit patients, you have to do scans, growth scans, vaginal scans, and what have you. And sometimes some mothers are receptive. I mean, as a male and black man in obstetrics and gynecology, sometimes it's quite challenging, you know. Some these women will allow you to examine them, they will allow you to scan them, but some to refuse. So that has also been a little challenge as far as I am concerned. Besides that, that is for the clinic. And if you look at social aspects, Hong Kong is one of the most expensive places on earth.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yes, it's very expensive.
In terms of what?
In terms of accommodation, especially accommodation and standard of living.
Oh, okay.
So if you are not on the Hong Kong government scholarship and you are on your own, you will quite struggle because it's very expensive in the city. It's quite expensive.
Okay. So let's look at the structure of your PhD program. When you went the first year, what were some of the things you were doing? Were you taking through some classroom activities or you went straight to the hospital?
Yes, first year, well, it depends on what your department is. We are doing medicine, so our department is in the hospital, so I am always in the hospital. And you start straight away, but the university requires that you do some coursework. That is always how it's supposed to be. In all PhD, you do some coursework for 1 year. So in my first year, I had to do statistics, medical statistics. I had to do some safety courses. Chemical safety, biological safety, and other safety courses. Then also there are some IPL courses, we call it learning and professional studies. They call it. So the other courses like communication courses where they teach you how to communicate, how to do presentations. Because when you have your PhD, you'll be doing a lot of presentations here and there. So they teach you all those things. You also have to do many other courses. I mean, courses such as biological safety, you have to attend that course and write an exam. Chemical safety, you have to write an exam, and other courses too that you need to do alongside to prepare you for the research that you are coming to do. So first year is basically both coursework and research.
Okay, so you are obliged to publish research before you graduate, right?
Yes.
How many researches, or just one is enough?
Or if you're able to publish, you are the first author for one. Especially if you're able to publish the study you are doing, because PhD is a narrow area, so you narrow yourself to a particular area. I am working on preterm birth and preeclampsia. Okay. So if you can publish a paper on the area you are working on, just one paper is enough. But normally in PhD, you don't work alone. You work in a group. Okay, so if you work in a group and you have a very good supervisor, by the time you finish, at least you will have, I mean, 2, 3, or 4 papers. I mean, some will be a co-author, some you may 1 or 2, you may be the first author. So with that, you'll be able to graduate. Okay. But so if you don't publish, If you
Okay.
don't publish, you can still graduate in the 4 years if you don't publish, but it is advisable that you try
Okay.
and publish a paper before you graduate.
Okay. So as a PhD candidate, can you describe your typical day as a PhD candidate from the morning you get to the hospital? What do you do? What time do you get to the hospital? What time do you return? What do you do during the day in the hospital?
For we those who do clinical research, it simply means that you have to recruit patients from the clinic. You get it from the
Okay.
outpatient department. So
Okay.
in Hong Kong, the outpatient department starts around 8:30 a.m. So
Okay.
by 8:30 a.m., you should be in the clinic to
Okay.
recruit your patients. So it's different from every department. But for my department of obstetrics and gynecology, we have an outpatient clinic where all the patients report to, and they
Okay.
come in and we recruit them at the clinic. So by 8 o'clock, I should be in the hospital,
Okay.
and I'll go to the clinic, prepare my staff for recruitment, which I do with other research assistants of my team.
Okay.
So they help with the recruitment. We see the patient up to around 12:30 or 1 o'clock. We have a break where you take in something for break. Then we return to clinic around 2:30 to continue
Okay.
recruitment. So after recruitment, depending on what you are doing, I am collecting cervical vaginal fluid for biomarker estimation. So from the clinic, then I'll have to go to the lab to process my samples.
Okay.
So clinic will close around 5:30 to 6 p.m. So after 6 p.m., I now have to go to the lab to process my samples. So basically, that is the routine. Then after maybe around 8:30, 9 p.m., I'm done and I come back home. But sometimes too, whilst you are recruiting patients, you need to deal with your data, because it's data that you are collecting, right?
Yeah.
For data, you need to have an Excel file where you have all your data. So you are looking at going for your maternal characteristics. That is, you're
Okay.
recruiting pregnant women, so you have to know their weight, their age, their height, their BMI, their pregnancy history. All those ones, you have to work on them. So my days are in between the clinic, the laboratory, and the clinical management system, where I can get some of all this data done so that I'll be able to put them together and analyze.
Okay. So in all this, do you have a supervisor who makes sure you do all this in the day? Because you may get a PhD student who wouldn't even go to the hospital. Is there anybody who's supposed to supervise the PhD students?
Every PhD student have a supervisor. Without a supervisor, you can't do a PhD. You must be supervised by a professor
Mm-hmm.
who is good in that particular field.
Okay.
So
So is
every
there
PhD student have
any
a supervisor.
consequences for a student who doesn't attend the hospital regularly as he's supposed to?
Or it's your supervisor who will deal with you. So PhD is such that if you slack, you stay for more time. You
Okay.
get it? So you have many supervisors who may not really come in, because we are adults. You don't expect your supervisor to come and call in the morning to come to the hospital to collect your data, or to go to the
Okay.
lab to get your lab work done. You understand? So,
Okay.
if you don't go, it's your own cup of tea. You have to go,
Okay.
get your data sorted out, get your write-up done, do your presentations, and hope to graduate. Because if you don't do that and your data is not good enough, how do you write the paper? How do you write your thesis to graduate? So it depends. Some supervisors don't care, some also care. So if you have to be up and doing yourself to get a PhD, because nobody will do your PhD for you. You have to do it yourself.
Okay. So it looks like your PhD is more focused on academia and research, or is typical clinical
You see?
that after you can see patients as a physician, or you are just into research?
Okay, Prince, let me differentiate this clearly for your listeners to understand.
Okay.
People confuse PhD and specialty.
Okay.
They are not the same.
Okay.
When you are doing a PhD, it's purely academic.
Okay.
When you are doing a specialty, it's clinical training.
Okay.
You get it?
Yeah.
When you are doing a PhD like mine, which is more clinical research, because of course you can do a PhD in obs and gyne and still do lab work, or let's say purely in the lab, like those who do cancer research, gynecological cancer research, and other research.
Yeah.
But my PhD is maternal fetal medicine.
Okay.
So basically, I am dealing with pregnant women who come to clinic, who are pregnant. You understand? So it is purely clinical research. It is not clinical training. But sometimes people confuse the two. It's because, back home in Ghana and in Africa, to a large extent, a lot of doctors don't do PhD. They prefer to go into specialty, become fellows, and when you become a fellow, sometimes it is equated to a PhD by some jurisdictions. You get it. But if to the US and the UK, the PhD is merged with the specialty. So whilst you are doing your specialty, you can do an MD to become a researcher too. You get it. And now in Africa, especially in Ghana, I know that the College of West African College of Physicians and Surgeons of West Africa have now introduced research work in clinical specialties. So without that, you cannot graduate. You get it. So we are gradually in Ghana and Africa. It is going to come a time where research will be part of our clinical work. But when you're doing a PhD, it's solely research. It's not clinical training.
It's not clinical training. Okay. So after graduation, what is the way forward for you?
After graduation, I became an MD PhD. You get it. Now the way forward is I can get into a residency program and train only in clinical aspects. You get it. So when
get trained or train people?
Oh, I can during my training, depending on where you are, I can teach and also be trained at the same time. You get it? Because I already have a PhD. But I have to be truthful that PhD doesn't give you very good clinical skill. It gives you very good academic skill and then academic knowledge. You get it? So if you want to get clinical training or clinical skills, then you need to do a clinical training program, what we popularly call specialty or specialization. You get it? Exactly. So from here, either I say I'm tired of studying, I will not. I'll just be a normal doctor with my PhD and maybe lecture in the university, or choose to go into clinical training for about 2-3 more years or 4 years and become both a specialist and a PhD holder. So it depends on what I want to do going forward.
Okay. As you rightly said, most people do not know the difference between PhD and specialization. So personally, I know some people who are doing their postgraduates, they are into the research field, but they think they are in the clinical aspect.
No.
So did you know that yours is more of research, or you found out when you got into the university?
Oh, of course I knew. Of course I knew I was going to do a clinical academic PhD. I knew before because even the admission letter will tell you that you are not going to be a clinical person. Indeed, if you want to practice in Hong Kong, Hong Kong is not like China. Hong Kong is different. I've studied in China, I've studied in Hong Kong. If you want to be a doctor in Hong Kong, you need to write the Hong Kong medical license exam. You need to pass that exam. You need to practice as a houseman for 1 year. Before you even qualify to practice in Hong Kong. Then you need to practice as a medical officer before you can get into a specialty program to be clinically trained to be a specialist. You get it?
Yes.
And when you are doing a PhD, PhD is not clinical training. It is academic training. So you will be in the clinic all right. Actually, because I am doing a clinical research program, I go to the labor ward. I go to you can observe a few procedures here and there, but you are not going to get yourself so involved like being trained. So what I say, you get my point. So but there are others too who are doing PhD who don't have access to clinic at all because their program is not clinic related. Like I have colleagues who are doing gynecological cancers.
Okay.
They don't go to clinic. They stay in their lab. When they have a tumor, it is brought to them. They work on it in the lab. They work with mice and other stuff. You get it. But for my program, I need to be in the clinic. Sometimes I need to be in the labor ward. I need to be in the ward because depending on what you are looking at, you have to. That is where the pregnant woman is. So at least get the opportunity to observe a few things, observe a few scans and other things. It helps. It is clinically helping me anyway. But generally, if you are doing a PhD, it's not clinical.
Okay. So after graduation as a foreigner, can you choose to practice in Hong Kong?
You can. If you write the exam and pass, you can practice. Hong Kong doesn't frown on foreigners working here. But the procedure you must fulfill, it's very strict. So you register to write the Hong Kong.
As a PhD graduate, you still have to write the board exam.
Yes, you have to. I have a Japanese friend, an old woman, and not old, but elderly, let me say elderly woman, who has a PhD in Hong Kong. But recently, she had to sit and write the medical license exam here in Hong Kong to be able to practice as a doctor and a PhD researcher in Hong Kong. So whether you have a PhD here, so you have to write that exam. It's a professional exam, so you have to take it.
Okay. So let's come back to your scholarship package. Did it cover accommodation? Were there allowances? What was the scholarship package?
Okay. The scholarship package in Hong Kong comes in two ways.
Okay.
We have the studentship and another one. The other one is much higher. That one is given directly by the Research Grant Council. If you apply to the Research Grant Council and you don't get the main scholarship, you get what we call the studentship. The studentship is paid by the university you are working with.
Okay.
But the main scholarship is paid by the Research Grant Council. That is quite higher. So it is in two packages. Most students get the studentship. They give the main scholarship to mostly to students who come from the US and the UK. That's what we have observed. But if you are from Africa or Asia, normally they will give us the studentship.
Okay. And
the studentship, as of now, when you come fresh, is about $2,200 a month.
Okay.
But out from that, you have to pay your accommodation and pay your tuition fee from that.
Okay.
That is if you are staying on campus. You see, so so basically, I would say that they take half of the monthly stipend from you and give you half of it.
Okay.
Yes, something like that.
So in the process, can one lose his scholarship?
Oh yes, there are rules.
What are some of the rules that will make one lose his scholarship?
You are on the scholarship. You're not supposed to work. If you are caught working, you can be dismissed.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and if you're on the main scholarship, as we go along, I've forgotten. It has a name, but I've forgotten the name. I'm not on that scholarship, so I have forgotten the name. Yeah. But if I remember, I'll tell you. If you leave Hong Kong for more than 3 months, you forfeit the scholarship. It means that you are not here to do the research. The focus is for you to stay here and do the research for them. So if you live here for more than 3 months, you will not get they will cancel the scholarship.
Okay. So if you are to given the opportunity again, will you still choose Hong Kong to have your PhD?
Of course. I mean, Hong Kong is one of the most standard educational places I've been.
Okay.
Hong Kong education is just like the British one. You know, they used to do everything British.
In
fact, if you even Google the best educational standard countries in the world, I think Hong Kong lies about 4th or 5th. The last time I checked, Hong Kong was about 4th. Hong Kong education is even rated more than the UK and the US. You can check. So, I mean, since I came here, I've written some of the standard exams I have ever written. Trust me. I wrote one particular exam and I walk out of the exam hall with pure headache.
Wow.
It is not the normal Chinese kind of exam that, I mean, you go and chew and pour. No.
Oh, yeah.
They test your ability to reason. You get it.
Wow. Yeah.
You have to apply what you read. I mean, let me confess, my first exam here was biological safety. I nearly failed because I didn't know how their exam was.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not like past question for you, you know.
Yeah.
So I learned my usual way of learning, hoping that when I go there, they were going to ask me straight question. What is this? I mean,
Yeah.
how many types this do we have? You know, that
Yeah.
kind of question. No. You have to apply. So they give you a preamble.
Mm-hmm.
Then you need to understand what you have read. It's not something that you are going to see it in black and white to write. No.
Yeah.
So after I got to know how their exam was, the rest was quite smooth, you know. So Hong Kong education is very standard, and given opportunity, I'll still stay.
Okay. So if you were even given opportunity to do your MBBS in Hong Kong, will you have chosen Hong Kong to China?
Of course. Look, Prince, I have studied in China. I will never say Chinese education is not good.
Yeah.
Chinese education is quite okay. But when I came here and I saw how they teach their undergraduate students, their medical students, there's a huge difference between them and China. I'm telling you. Because here it's like the USMLE PLAB standard. You get it? Because I mean, they do things like Britain. So if you look at their curriculum, look at how they teach or how the students learn. You appreciate that it is very different from China in terms of material, in terms of practical, in terms of I mean, you know, there are only 2 medical schools in Hong Kong: the Hong Kong University and the Chinese University of Hong Kong. They have made it in such a way that Hong Kong University does MBBS and the Chinese University does MBCHB.
Oh, okay.
You see, so the 2 systems of medical training are all practiced in Hong Kong.
Oh, okay.
So Hong Kong education is quite standard.
Okay, so for anyone who is watching us now and is planning to have his medical studies in Hong Kong, what advice do you have for such a person?
As an undergrad or a postgrad?
Either undergrad or postgrad.
Well, getting undergrad admission here is quite difficult because of the admission entry requirements.
Okay.
Yeah, they require this, I think, this OA level or this kind of foreign kind of exams, like this foreign British.
Okay.
That's their qualification criteria. I don't think anybody in Ghana can come with SSE. No.
Okay.
You can't. I doubt. Unless you can prove that your SSE is equivalent to their IGC exam and those kind of international exams.
International recognized exams. Okay.
Exactly, because in Hong Kong they call it diploma of secondary education. Their diploma of secondary education, which is a requirement for medical school, is just like the IGCE, the international recognized diploma programs.
Okay.
So before you can get into undergrad, you must possess some of those qualifications. Yeah.
Okay. What about the postgraduates?
Oh, for postgrad, once you have your MBBS or MPCHB or BSc or Masters from anywhere, you are, because after BSc, it is recognized as that's the university level.
Okay.
And you know that university degree masters are universal.
Okay.
So with that, you don't have a problem. You can get into Hong Kong, but you need to be on a scholarship. But if you are rich enough, you can come and pay yourself.
Okay. So the admission process to get PhD, is this the same or it has changed since?
It's the same. It's the same. You first apply to the Research Grant Council.
Okay.
When you apply and your application is successful, they will give you a specific number. Then you go to the university website or university site and apply there. So when you apply there, the university will receive your application. When they receive your application, they will write you to submit. I mean, you have to fill. There's a very rigorous form you fill online and submit.
Okay.
So when you fill your form, they will assess your submission. If you qualify, they will ask you to submit your documents.
Okay.
verification. It's an international. It's just like the US, the UK, the Australia. I mean, you have to go through the usual admission criteria. The Hong Kong people, they want to feel like there's a standard here that they follow, and it's the same as the big countries. So
Okay.
it's the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, doctor, I would like to know, what was your motivation? What motivated you to focus more on PhD than being a specialist?
Well, like I said, I always wanted to teach, and I felt that getting a PhD will give me the edge to be able to be a lecturer later in life.
Okay.
Also, when I got admission, I was in Konfanochi Teaching Hospital doing my internship as at that time. So I went to see the head of the ONG department at Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. I showed him the admission letter, and he was like, "It's a good idea. It's not a bad idea. I mean, if you have a PhD and you become a specialist,
Yeah.
you are a little ahead of your colleague specialists because you have that certificate, or you have a research background that they don't have." So I think when I was told this, I felt like, look, come on, take it, because opportunity comes but once. So you had the opportunity. Of course, you are not going to pay any fees. You are going to get good education. Why do you throw it away?
Yeah.
So, and I haven't regretted one bit. I have not regretted at all.
Okay, so if you are given an opportunity to give a reason to an MBBS graduate not to focus much on specialization but to look at PhD, what will you say to convince the person?
I will not discourage anybody from doing specialty.
Okay.
It is good to be a specialist. I will be a specialist because as I'm speaking to you, I'm planning to move into clinical specialization.
Okay.
So if you want to go through clinical specialization, it's okay. If you want to come into research, it's okay. It depends on what you want to do. You get it? If I didn't get the opportunity to come and do a PhD, definitely I would have gone through the specialization routes. But once an opportunity presents itself, like happened to me, I will not tell you to throw it away because you are not a specialist.
Yeah.
You get it? Once you get the opportunity, take it, because you don't know how good it will be for you later.
Yeah.
Because when I got the opportunity, a lot of my colleagues really tried to discourage me, or they were like, "Oh, Charlie, we are doctors who want a PhD, they already here. I mean, what are you using PhDs for? I mean, we are doctors, we specialize and we do fellows, become fellows, blah, blah, blah." But the specialist I spoke to told me that don't let this opportunity go away. You get it? So if anybody comes to me for advice, I will not say, "Hey, don't do specialization," because I didn't do that one first. If you have the opportunity to specialize, go ahead. If you have the opportunity to do a PhD, take it. It will make you complete.
Okay. Thank you very